Hi guys, and I'm Retro Critic here, and today I'll be reviewing Avatar. So, Avatar was a film that came out in the year 2009, and it was written and directed by James Cameron, of course. And so Avatar is about a man named Jake Sully, played by Sam Worthington, and it's about a crippled soldier. He's a crippled soldier that's on a mission on the moon on Pandora, which is near Neptune. It's one of the moons around Neptune, it looks like. And he's on a mission, and he's torn between following orders rather than feeling home, because he starts to feel home at the Na'vi tribe. And let me say this. So for some reason, so they invade this planet near Neptune. Well, it's not in Neptune, but it's near Neptune. It's in the moon of Pandora. They invade the moon on Pandora, and it's one of Neptune's moons, pretty much. So in the moon of Pandora, Jake Sully is on a research mission on the moon of Pandora, and they want to meet the Avatar people, but the Avatar people are actually called the Na'vi. So they're this blue alien tribe called the Na'vi. And they tried to meet these people for research purposes, for discovery purposes. But then there's a twist where the military actually wants to conquer the planet, wants to conquer their land, all that shit, all that environmental shit. And that's basically the story. And then later, Sam Worthington's character, Jake Sully, is torn between the Na'vi and following orders from the humans. He rejects his orders because he feels more right at home with the Na'vi, and he feels, more at home with the Na'vi rather than following orders from the humans. So, because I have to mention, the humans, they have this experiment where they find a dead body of an alien Na'vi, which is the blue people. So they find a Na'vi body, and they put a human's consciousness mind in the body, and that's why it's called Avatar. And he becomes the Avatar, not Aang, not the Airbender, but. And Sigourney Weaver is also in this movie. She plays the character Dr. Grace. I like Sigourney Weaver. I like her in Aliens, of course. Sigourney Weaver is always great of wherever she's at, everything where she's in, But so Dr. Grace and Jake Sully and all the other characters, they become the body of the Avatar, and that's why it's called Avatar. No, not Avatar: Last Airbender, not Avatar with Aang. No, just James Cameron's Avatar. Just to be specific, just to be clear with you. So they put their mind consciousness, their mind gets into the body. So basically, they put their consciousness in the body, pretty much. So Jake Sully rejects his body. I think he protects it. I don't know. So he kind of gets rid of the body. He kind of doesn't want to be in that crippled body, and he, wants to be in that body. And later on, and that's basically the story of the movie. I mean, there's a twist where the military wants to take over and conquer the land, conquer the planet, or something like that. And Jake Sully's the good guy where he protects the tribe, where he protects the alien people tribe, and yada yada. So, and here's the thing. Later on, now there's this colonel called Colonel Miles, and he's played by Stephen Lang. I always like Stephen Lang's work. I always like him in everything where he's in. I like him in the good way. I like him in Don't Breathe, of course. I've seen him around other movies. I like Stephen Lang's work. I always like Stephen Lang as an actor. But this is where he plays Colonel Miles, and I gotta tell you, he's probably the most funniest villain I've ever seen. He's probably the most entertaining character in the whole movie. He's probably the best part of the whole movie. He's pretty much the most entertaining character in the whole movie. He's the best part of the whole movie, let's be honest. And, Jake Sully, he looks up to Colonel Miles. Colonel Miles respects him back. Colonel Miles is sympathetic of his crippled condition. He's supportive of him. Everybody looks down at Jake Sully, but the Colonel doesn't. The Colonel looks up to him. No, sorry, I got the other way around. And Jake Sully, he looks up to the Colonel and all that stuff, and he's sympathetic of his crippled condition because he's crippled, of course. And everybody looks down at him because he's crippled. I get it. He's crippled, and he finds a way out by becoming the Na'vi. So he rejects his old body and would rather be the Na'vi. He'd rather be the Na'vi than his old body, pretty much. So he's no longer human. He's human, but he doesn't want to be in his human body anymore. He wants to be in the body of a Na'vi. So okay, he accepts the role of being a bot. he accepts the role of being a Na'vi person. That's interesting. I like that conflict, where he's torn between his own people rather than the Na'vi. That's a fascinating concept, and it actually works here. Later on, he meets this woman, this Na'vi woman called Netri, who's played by Zoe Salandria. Netri's played by Zoe Salandria, which she's okay here. She's okay in this movie, and all that shit. So of course Jake and Netri, they both fall in love. She's like the Na'vi love interest. She's a Na'vi alien, and she kind of figures out that like Jake is half human. She finds out that Jake is originally human in a Na'vi's body. That's interesting. But they both fall in love. She becomes the love interest. They both have a romantic chemistry. Later on in the movie, I'll put it like that. They have an interesting relationship. Let me put it like that. They later get along. She shows her the way, and it turns out Netri's actually the daughter of the tribesman, who's like the leader of the Na'vi tribe. So she's the daughter of the leader of the Na'vi tribe, and Netri's conflicted of not wanting to trust the humans, and she doesn't trust Jake fully. He doesn't trust he doesn't trust him first. She later trusts him, and then she later falls in love with him. Of course, she's the love interest, and she's hesitant of him, but then she later cares for him later in the movie. So later on, of course, the evil colonel, who's literally any other bad guy in a movie I've seen before. I swear to God, he's like that twist villain from Disney's Atlantis. Like, remember Atlantis, the Lost Empire? I swear to God, he reminds me of that colonel in that movie. I don't know, maybe they're both like military twist villains, because it just gives me that. I swear to God, they're both like similar twist villains in that kind of way, that kind of vibe. Now, and I wouldn't call him a twist. I would kind of call him a twist villain. You can kind of see it coming, because it's totally implied that he's basically the bad. It's later implied he's basically obviously totally the bad guy here, but because he's conflicting the humans in his tribe. He's conflicted between his own people than the Na'vi tribe. So later on, Colonel Miles betrays Jake. And he's debating whose side you're on. He does the whole whose side you on kind of thing. He betrays Jake, of course, and all that shit. And later on, you get this huge battle and this is kind of my favorite part of the whole movie. You get this action set pieces where I forgot to mention it. They're these giant robot suits, and they have these robotic ships, these giant metal futuristic ships, and they're in these giant robot suits, and they blow up the whole tree, and they basically destroy the tribe. The dad gets killed. The father, Nestri's father, gets killed, and Nestri's angry at Jake, of course. Where she blames her. And then later Sigourney Weaver's character, Dr. Grace, gets killed, and she dies, but she doesn't die in vain. Her death's basically revenge later on. All that shit. Then basically the rest of the movie is you get this huge fucking battle with all these with all the ships and robot suits and tanks, and you get this this is the part I really like about the movie. This is my favorite part of the whole movie. You get these awesome action set pieces of these explosions, and then this Na'vi shooting a gun and arrows, and it's really cool. And you get these amazing action scenes in the movie with all these explosions and guns and shootings and arrows. And Jake learns the way of the Avatar, of how to fly these creatures and shooting these arrows. He tries to understand how to shoot these arrows, and he kind of and Jake tries to learn the way of the Na'vi of trying to fly these these creatures they fly. And I like how they later come back in the movie where they shoot arrows at humans. And remember these alien creatures they ride. The alien creatures that they ride on, they come back in the movie to fight the humans. I like how you see a Na'vi shoot a gun. It's kind of cool to see a Na'vi have this machine gun shoot at the humans, and you get these awesome, amazing action set pieces where there's shootings, people are getting shot and killed and stabbed, and explosions, and there's literally explosions everywhere, and there's a lot of fighting and battle going on. It's amazing. It's incredible. And later in the finale of the movie, Stephen Lang's character, Colonel Miles, he's in a robot suit. This cool, like, this metal robot suit, we get to ride and move it. And Stephen Lang's Colonel Miles, he rides this, what I call it, a suit, like a robot suit. It's not a robot suit, it's not a robot suit, but it's a robot, but it's a giant robot body. It's a robot, it's like a robot tank, let me put it like that. But fights the Colonel, there's a fight scene between Colonel Miles and Jake Sully and all that stuff. Later on, he gets injured and bruised and all that stuff. He's about to kill his human body, but then he's injured and bruised. He's about to kill his human body. Later on, Netri fights Colonel Miles, and then Netri pretty much later kills Colonel Miles by like shooting an arrow as chest, stabs his heart. Pretty much kills him off there. Destroys the robot suit. Like she like shoots the arrow through the robot suit, and he basically, and the arrow basically like kills Colonel Miles, and Netri pretty much kills Colonel Miles after that. And the day is saved, and the Na'vi won the battle. Say they won the war against the humans. The humans are sent back, but there's some good human scientific characters there. The good human scientists stay in the planet, so the bad humans are sent away and all that shit. And later on, Jake Sully rejects his human body. Like, I wouldn't say he rejects his human body, he doesn't want to be in his human body anymore. I would say that Jake Sully doesn't want to be in his human body anymore, and he's in the Na'vi. He's in his Na'vi body more, and he accepts the role of being he's in the human Na'vi body, and he accepts the role of being that person, and he wants to be that person more, something like that. And in the end, like the Na'vi, like they all like meditate and all that shit. Like the ending's weird that way. I guess they're doing the ritual. I guess this is like their traditional ritual or something. But in the ending, they like honor his body. They do like this ritual, this meditation ritual. I have no idea what it is, but that's pretty much the ending of the movie. It just literally ends like that. I mean, I guess that's in Na'vi tradition. I guess that's Na'vi tradition. That's the way of I guess that's the way of the Na'vi, and that's pretty much how the movie ends. That's literally like the ending of the movie, and that's pretty much my thoughts on that. And that's pretty much my movie, and those are my thoughts on the movie. So let me just say this, and this is how I feel about it. And look, so in the end of the day, and actually, let me talk about the cast first. So let me talk. So I want to talk about the cast. So I want to start with Sigourney Weaver. Look, I always love Sigourney Weaver. I love her in Aliens. I love her in Ghostbusters. I love her and all that other shit. But I mean, like, listen. I mean, look. I mean, Sigourney Weaver is great in the movie. And like, I mean, Sigourney Weaver is actually pretty good in the movie. Don't get me wrong. Not the biggest fan of her. It was alright. Not the biggest fan of her character, but her character's alright. Now, let's talk about Zoe Saldana as Netri. Now, I actually do like Zoe Saldana as Netri. I mean, I think she does a good job of portraying the type of Na'vi character she is. Like, I think she has a good performance of, like, trying to, like... I think she does a good job of doing a convincing role of, like, trying to, like, portray a Na'vi. I think she does a good job of that, of trying to be a Na'vi. So she does a good job of, like, trying to be a Na'vi, and she does a good job of, like, trying to play a convincing role of that type. I like that. That's kind of what I like about her in the movie. So, I mean, she was good. She was alright. I didn't mind her. She was decent. She was good. She was good. She was solid. So let's get to Sam Worthington as Jake Sully. So let me just say this. I think, so Sam Worthington, he plays Jake Sully, and he plays, like, this Marine, and Jake Sully's, like, this Marine, and he's in the Army. He's in the Army, of course, and so, look, I mean, I think Sam Worthington is alright here. I think Sam Worthington does a good job here. Like, he's good at what he needs to do here in the movie. I like what he does, what he needs to do. I mean, like, Sam Worthington, he's good at playing the straight guy here in the movie. And I think he's alright. But he plays, like, this cliche protagonist, let's be honest. I mean, like, he's this protagonist that you sympathize with, which that's fine. I get it. I mean, like, look, even though that Sam Worthington plays, like, a generic, bland protagonist, I mean, let's be honest, that's what it is. But in the end of the day, he still does a good job performance-wise. Overall, in the end of the day, he still does a good performance here. And he does a good job of, like, conveying a sympathetic side of him. I like that. That's what I like about him. I like that side of his character. And you relate to him, and you can relate to his condition in the film. And like, look, I mean, I just think Sam Worthington as Jake Sully was alright in the movie. I think he was decent. And even though Sam Worthington plays a generic, straight guy as Jake Sully here in the movie, he's bland. It's like the most bland protagonist ever, but he's good at, like, but he's really convincing, but he's really good at like playing the straight guy here. But at the same time, but in the end of the day, I just think Sam Worthington was just alright in the movie. I just think Sam Worthington was just decent in the movie. In the end of the day, he was serviceable. He was serviceable in the movie. He was terrible. He was good. There was likability. He was likable in the movie, and I just thought he was just really good overall in the end of the day. So I just thought it was good. Likable. It was a likable side of him, and I thought he was just good. So that's how I feel about him. Now there's Stephen Lang as Colonel Miles. And I gotta tell you, and wow, he has to be the most entertaining, the most charming villain I have seen in a movie. I mean, he's really entertaining. Like, there's like a certain charm to like his character, really. And I mean, even though he has to be the most obvious cliche villain ever in a movie, like he's the most like obvious like turncoat, like cliche twist villain ever in a movie. Like the most turncoat twist villain ever in a movie. You know, you've seen that stuff before. But at the same time, he's the most fun, most hilarious villain I've seen in a movie. Like you kind of like him as being the bad guys. Like he's one of those bad guys that you love to hate. Let me put it like that. Like he's just a fun villain. So I just view him as more of a fun villain in the movie. I did like Stephen Lang as Colonel Miles here. I thought he did a great job here. So that's how I feel with the cast, and that's pretty much the cast of the movie. Now I don't fall into these two different camps, but here's how I feel. Now I'm going to tell you how I feel. So. Now, I'm pretty much in the middle of how I feel about this movie, and I just think that this movie is just okay and decent in the end of the day. That's just how I feel about it. There's two camps. There's two camps of who feel about this movie. There's one camp that hates this movie and thinks James Cameron's a hack. There's another camp that love this movie and who are sycophantic of it. But I'm in neither of those camps. I'm just in the middle of how I feel about this movie. I just think this movie's alright, really. Now, I'm in the middle of how I feel with James Cameron, but there's two different camps of how people feel with James Cameron. There's one camp that feels like James Cameron is a hack and that he lost his way a long time ago. There's another camp that feels like James Cameron is a genius and that he's like, he created a masterpiece, you know, and all that shit. I mean, here's the thing. Let me say this. There's people that think he's a hack and, you know, only his action set pieces are great. Like, there's people who thinks, you know, it's the greatest, that Avatar is the greatest movie ever made, and the action set pieces are awesome, and all that shit. Let me just say this. Now, first of all, like I said, this movie's okay. This movie's actually pretty decent, and yes, the action set pieces are awesome. The action scenes are awesome, don't get me wrong. And no, I don't agree that this is the greatest movie ever made. And here's the thing, I don't agree that James Cameron is a genius. I do think he's talented and creative. I don't think he's a super genius. I think he's a really talented and creative guy. Let me put it like that. I don't agree that he's a talented hack. I just think he lost his way a long time ago. And what I mean by lost his way, I just mean like I feel like the last good movie he made was True Lies. I feel like True Lies was the last good James Cameron movie made. Like, that was like the real James Cameron, True Lies. Because True Lies to me was like the last real James Cameron to me. And I say that because Linda Hamilton, now a lot of people don't know this, but Linda Hamilton was actually married to James Cameron. They were later both divorced, but Linda Hamilton actually co-wrote, not influence, like, you know how like George Lucas was married to Maria Lucas? Like, she didn't like co-wrote and she didn't have creative input, she was an influence and creative, like, you know, she didn't come up with the names and ideas, she like, you know, influenced ideas and co-wrote with George Lucas. Wrote some stuff with George Lucas, that's it. It's similar to like George Lucas's ex-wife, with like Maria Lucas. But yes, Linda Hamilton co-wrote and influenced ideas with James Cameron. Linda Hamilton wrote ideas with James Cameron. She didn't have creative input. She didn't come up with names. She didn't have creative input. She just helped out with ideas with James Cameron. Linda Hamilton just did some writing with James Cameron. Let's be honest. But that's the thing. Let me put it like this. James Cameron had balls when she was with Linda Hamilton, and I feel like Linda Hamilton took his balls away, and then we get like Titanic and Avatar, and I feel like, and that's why I say I feel like he's lost his way, because he makes like generic movies like Titanic and Avatar, and you know, like and I think he was different after divorce. I mean, let's be honest. He was egocentric and he was a little narcissistic. That's why I think he was different after the divorce because he was more narcissistic and egotistical. We're all like that, but the thing is, and like, look, I mean, I think James Cameron had balls, but Linda Hamilton took his balls away and he became a pussy and like a simp. We made like those Titanic and Avatar movies, because I think he kind of made these he made these like generic and kind of lazy and more like kind of alright like movies like Titanic and Avatar. It made like these generic Titanic and Avatar movies, these alright movies. In the end of the day, that's what they are. And and James Cameron was kind of narcissistic and egotistical. Look, we all are. Like, a lot of directors can be narcissistic. A lot of directors can be egotistical. But James Cameron was another level. There's stories how he's on set. I feel like my point is, I feel like he just became a little bit of a pussy and a simp later on, a coward and a simp. Like there's stories how he's like on set. So like there's stories how he behaves on set. But my point is, he's different. I feel like he's not bold enough. He's different. He's not bold enough. Sure, he has creative ideas, but I feel like he's not ballsy like he used to be. Like, sure, he can have amazing creative ideas, but I feel like he's just not ballsy as he used to be. Let me put it like that. And that's how I feel about him, really. So, I mean, that's how I feel with James Cameron. And that's pretty much kind of my thoughts on James Cameron. That's my view on him. That's kind of how I feel about James Cameron. But those are pretty much my thoughts on James Cameron. So if you're wondering where I stand at James Cameron, well, that's how I feel about James Cameron. Let me put it like that. I'm in the middle of how I feel, but still. And look, I think James Cameron is a creative and talented director. I think he's a solid and good director. I think he's a little bit of genius in some way. A little bit of a genius. Not too much, just a little bit. I do think he has some very creative ideas, but that's it. Like I said, I'm in the middle. I'm in the middle of how I feel about him. So that's kind of how I feel about him, really. So that's how I feel about him. So there. That's how I feel about him. If you're wondering, that's how I feel about him. And that's pretty much it. And look, I think he's a semi-decent director. I think he was a good director to a semi-decent director now. That's how I feel about James Cameron. That's how James Cameron comes off to me now. I think James Cameron has a lot of talent and creativity, but that's it. I feel like he kind of just creative ideas and talent, but that's it. I just feel like James Cameron is just running ideas, because, like, what else did he make besides Titanic and Avatar? No, that's it. What else did he make besides Titanic and Avatar? All he made is, like, Titanic and those Avatar movies. What else is going to make besides Avatar? Like, is going to make Avatar movies and that's it? Is the Avatar movies going to be the last movies he's going to make? Unfortunately, it kind of seems like it. Maybe. You never know. I don't know. So that's pretty much how I feel about James Cameron. That's how I feel about him. That's pretty much how I feel about James Cameron, really, to be honest with you. So that's what I think about James Cameron, okay? So look, in the end of the day, I think Avatar is just an average movie. I think Avatar is an average movie with some creative input, with some creative value to it, but that's it. And yes, I do think Avatar has a lot of, like, cool action set pieces. Like, Avatar has a lot of really good action set pieces, and I thought it was a really awesome movie. And I thought the action scenes were really awesome, and I really enjoyed it. I had fun with it, and I really had fun with the action scenes in the movie. But that's it. And that was the only few cool parts of the movie. That's the only few cool things I like about the movie. I think Avatar has some good characters. I think Avatar has some pretty solid characters. I think Avatar has some interesting ideas. I think Avatar has some, interesting concepts, but that's it. So I think the characters are serviceable in the story, and it made the movie interesting. I think the story's alright. I think the story is decent. And I feel like this movie has a lot of decent ideas into one film, so that's how I feel about that. And now, all in all, look, I don't love Avatar, nor do I hate Avatar. I'm just in the middle of how I feel about Avatar. I think Avatar is just okay, and I just think Avatar is an average movie. And I do like Avatar, and I don't mind Avatar for what it is. I just don't love it, and I don't hate it. That's it. Simple as that. And I just think Avatar is just an alright movie for me in the end. I think Avatar is just a decent movie. And I just think it's just an okay movie for me. Avatar is just an alright movie for me in the end of the day. So that's how I feel about that. So overall, guys, that's how I feel about Avatar, and those are my thoughts on Avatar. So guys, I give Avatar a 6 out of 10, and I think giving Avatar a 6 out of 10 makes sense, really. And that's my thoughts on the movie, and that's how I feel about the movie. So guys, I'm Retro Critic, and I'm out. And I'll see you guys later, and I'll see you guys next time, and I'll see you guys in the next video, and I'll see you guys around. And peace out, and bye.